approached in 1984, as I recall, about the possibility of becoming involved as a member of the Friendly Sons board, because I was, a regular attendee at the events, which weren't that many at the time, frankly. And as I recall, Dave Casey Jr. was the president then, and I recall going to a meeting which was held at his law firm office up on Laurel Street, and I was invited to become a member at that point, having participated for 2 years, a member of the board as a member at large type position. And the board wasn't as big as it is now. It didn't have as many vice presidents, as many members at large, etc. And ultimately I worked my way. So 10 years later, in 1992, I became president of the Friendly Sons myself. So it was an 8-year trek on the board for me to get there. Of course, during that time frame, as is I think pretty much the case now, I was responsible for organizing and running various events to establish my pedigree, including the luncheon and the dinner. I don't believe back then we had an official halfway to St. Patrick's Day, although we did have a golf tournament, and I think a bunch of us used to go to the golf, to the races as well. So that's sort of the overview, but the bottom line is what brought me here is my Irish heritage, as I mentioned. When I first came on, we used to see regularly at board meetings Bill Buckley, William F Buckley, as I recall. As someone who had been a fond political follower of William F Buckley Jr., I was glad to meet another Bill Buckley. He was the original president of the Friendly Sons and was a regular guy. Showed up, I remember Mr. Haney. There was a guy that was regular, of course, it seemed so much older at the time, but Matt Gleason was a guy that was part of that original cauldron, or original assembly, who was, I think, president. That actually was a couple of years before Dave Casey, so in 81, 82. Another regular guy who used to show up, I mean, when I say regular, he would be here on a consistent basis, was a guy named John Quimby. He was another past president. Turns out he probably lives about a mile from where I live now, and he was just a stalwart, always showing up and always giving us tales. And he was one of the guys that would initially provide us with sort of a historical perspective on the Friendly Sons. Frankly, some of us should have listened better, including me, but he was a great guy. Jack Kelley was there, Mike Neal was there, I believe Mike Reidy, Leo Sullivan, some other guys, and the board meetings back in the day were, in some respects similar. Of course, again, the number of people was a little bit smaller. The meetings typically would be held at, often at the office or boardroom of one of the members. We did have a cadre of lawyers, including myself, and we would use our firm's conference room, and we would actually provide the libations, and it was given that was a routine, and often following those who were downtown, many of us would then go across the street to not Reidy O'Neill's, but to Dobsons for some after dinner drinks following the board meeting.